When was the last time you visited your professor during office hours? Was it for an assignment or just to talk? Whatever the case, you might have noticed a few strange odds and ends on display. You know, stuff that catches your eye but that you'd never ask about. This week, we interrogated professors about everything from Captain Crunch to Don Quixote.
Typically, when I am on campus, I am frantically trying to get things done. So when I do come in here, it's usually not to sit back and wander and ponder. And my dad his job was a lithographer. Lithographers print on metal. And so he made coffee cans. But every year when December came, he'd make those as gifts. He'd set up the presses and print these old-fashioned maps for his customers.
Dr. Spinney's office doesn't get many visitors. But step inside and you'll find a myriad of treasures with their own unique histories.
I taught at a different college. I taught a young woman named Tiffany Duvall. Tiffany Duvall's claim to fame was her father invented Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch presents Breakfast on the Guppy.
He was the engineer, actually. Captain Crunch was kind of the first cereal that you could stick milk on and it still stayed crunchy. So there actually was an inventing process. I asked Tiffany, I said, Tiffany, do you think you can get me a signed box of Captain Crunch from your dad? So she said, sure, I can do that. So there it is. Yeah, I remember one year one of my students was graduating and dorms were empty, and she came by and said, Dr. Spinney, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go throw this in the dumpster. Just thought I'd show it to you before I did so. I said, what is this? She showed me the ironing board. I said, you're not throwing that in the dumpster. I'm keeping that. What a great souvenir. So I just kept it. But every time I look at it, I'll tell you what I think. I go, why did someone paint my face on an ironing board? Was it so when they iron their clothing, they go like this, you know? And was that? I don't know what the idea was, but still, that's kind of an odd place to paint someone's face, don't you think, on an ironing board? So the picture of the door up there, you notice that one? Those are my daughters, back when they were little. I left my Play-Doh on the coffee table, and my daughters could not read, but they'd seen mom and dad read enough that they knew how to hold a book. And so daughter number 1 picks it up, and daughter number 2 scoots over, and it looks like they're having a nice philosophical discussion, doesn't it? But that wasn't staged. They just picked it up. I just always liked the photo. So.
Next, we dropped in on Dr. Favolo, whose office is just a few doors down.
Well, this is a former PhD student got this, so this is what a favolo is. This is on the Urban Dictionary kind of thing. A person who has an unhealthy obsession with Google Maps, board games, and gelato. We had a student, she used to have monster drawing every May during finals, and you come up and say, hi, draw a monster of me or my friend or us two. And so she drew, this is a drawing about a discussion 2 monks had in a famous monk document we have, because she knows I love monks. And this is her and 3 of her classmates and her depiction of them.
Dr. Favolo's walls are mostly bare, but he keeps a couple important pieces hanging up.
But there's a Sherlock Holmes book where Sherlock Holmes totally blows a case. He's completely wrong. And he tells Watson, if I ever get too arrogant about knowing, you know, all these cases, just remind me of that case where he just got it completely wrong. Then I look at the Don Quixote, because I got that poster when I was in college, and it was sort of a time of, I think I know best, like Don Quixote thought he knew best, but the rest of reality was clearly different, and reminds me of kind of Younger and Dumber, hopefully growing up some. But the creation of Adam, that reminds me of the fall, but the great story, creation, fall, redemption, restoration. I see the hand of God stretching and straining. You know, you deal with that theologically as you want, but God straining to save man. And I see Adam's hand on the left, kind of recoiling back in the fall, in arrogance, in not even know what's right for him. I mean, it's best for him to get grabbed by God. And I just think that's the human story right there. God has done everything to fix us, save us, and man's kind of like, I don't know if I want you, even though it's the absolute best thing.
Next, we went over to Founders Hall to check on Dr. Haynes, who recently moved his office from Red Hill.
Good times down there, but my office flooded 4 times. One of those times, pipes burst in over the weekend, and we didn't know until Monday morning. Another time, one of the drains above me, which was a boys' restroom, shower room, messed up and dumped all kind of water down on top of my head while I was sitting at my desk. I hate puzzles because at Christmas our family lays out a puzzle. I'm against it every year. They lay out a puzzle on the dining room table and everybody's just supposed to go by and put it together. But it lays there and lays there and lays there till I can't stand it anymore. So I go in and start doing with it. I don't even like puzzles. And I end up having to work on this stinking puzzle because everybody else has gotten tired of it. And then the bad thing is when you finish the puzzle, what do? You crumble it all back up and put it back in the box. That's just insane to me. And you see the little puzzle with the students there. That was a PSRM class. And they took a picture of the PSRM class and had it turned into a puzzle and gave it to me as a gift.
Nearly everything in Dr. Haynes' office has a story, from the jelly bean dispenser to the picture of PHC students standing behind President Trump at the Rose Garden.
The jelly bean dispenser up there was one that we were noted for. It sat on the edge of my desk, and I judged your character by it because of it. It was notorious for giving either a lot of jelly beans or just very few. So if you got very few, I questioned your character because the machine knows. Or if you got a lot, then you were supposed to be really good. We used that all the time until COVID, and then it was just had to be retired because you can't be doing that during. Well, Abraham Lincoln's my hero. Held the country together. Yes, there's several students on campus who don't like Abraham Lincoln, but overall, those were extremely exceptional times, and he held the country together when even his cabinet was saying, let's just stop this whole thing. And so you got to give him a lot of credit. And Ronald Reagan, in a former life, I was a city councilman and chairman of the party. Well, I was chairman of the party back home. I've been chairman of the party here in Loudoun County. And Reagan is the impetus for me getting into the political sphere. This was one senior class did that, and it is basically a certificate of appreciation. And it says, for expecting and requiring great things of us, we will always treasure the lessons you taught us between the bullet points. So,
those are just some of the stories we heard from PHC's professors. There's lore lurking behind every office door. So next time you're visiting, why not ask an unusual question? You might be surprised what you find.